It's a special Saturday edition of the Hotwire. I am your host, Tommy Knox, and guess what? It starts right now.
Are you ready? I'm ready. Live on Revolution Radio, please welcome the host of the Hotwire, Tommy Knox.
Oh yeah, it is me. It is the TOMMY, and we are live Saturday morning for the Hot Wire. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I hope you had a great week. I missed you. As always, I know that you missed me. And we're going to jump right into the mailbag this week because I got a couple good questions I can't wait to answer. But first, every once in a while we have a segment called What's Eating Tom. And today we're going to have What's Eating Tom a couple of times. Let's start with What's Eating Tom number one. It came to my attention that people don't like how I sometimes answer the same question twice because readers send in multiple questions. So the reason why that happens, and I just want everyone to know, is because I don't pre-read the questions. Okay, I might glance at them while I'm printing them out or something like that, but I make it a point not to pre-read them because I want my answers to be real. Okay, I'm not one of those fake douchebag ESPN reporters that needs everything written out in a teleprompter form or in a fucking Surface Pro right in front of them. This is the real fucking deal. All right, if you don't happen to like that I might read the same question twice, then I tell you what, why don't you get off your ass and actually send a fucking question in? Maybe then it will be different than somebody else. But until then, until you're willing to participate and put the effort in like other people are willing to put the effort in, don't fucking comment. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Get over it. Bitch. Next, the mailbag. From Jewel Trent in Syracuse, New York. Out of the matches announced so far for Violent Conduct 3, Violent Conduct, Violent Conduct 3, which one are you most looking forward to? Personally, I'm really looking forward to Evie Bang versus Alexis Edwards. No other match has generated the fire and the hype that these two have. These two legitimately hate each other, and I can't wait for one of them to fucking kill the other one in the ring. It's going to be fun. From Mason Jar in Hog Hollow, Nebraska. SCW has wrestlers from all over the world. If there was any nation and or style not yet represented in SCW that you'd like to see, what would it be and why? I'd like to see a luchador. I'd like to see a Mexican wrestler. I don't think we've ever had one. If we do, he was very short-lived and, insignificant. I know we had one very briefly in ASW, but it just didn't pan out. So I would like to see a luchador. All right. By the way, Mason Jar says, P.S. I swear this is my name. My parents were stoners. Honestly, Mason, it sounds more like your parents were idiots. From George Fetter in Salem, Massachusetts. Who do you think has the best finisher in SCW for the Superstars and Bombshells? Who has the best finisher? That's There's a lot of good ones. I'm a big fan of a couple. I'm gonna go old school. Misty Waters, Bow Down to the Queen. She had that. I think it was called Bow Down to the Queen. It was that Shooting Star Press DDT. That shit was sick. What else do we have? Delia Darling used to do that, modifying Scorpion Crosslock. That was cool. Johnny Tsunami right? The Tsunami special. The What's Fear, Steve Ramone. If you haven't told, I like high flying stuff and I like submissions. Some of the Impact ones are cool. Black Rose Overdrive comes to mind. But there's a lot of them. I really need to think about that one. If you send in that question again next week, just like answer it and double star it and just remind me, and I'll actually see it first and I'll do a little bit of research. Okay. From Misty Day in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now that the bosses have announced they will be holding their annual Halloween and Christmas themed shows, I was wondering what you thought about those two holiday events. I'm not a big fan of themed shows. Just not. To me, they seem really corny. I'm just not into it. Sorry. To me, I'd rather see you stick to a theme when you have a pay-per-view named something. I'd like to see you stick to that kind of theme. From Shay Little in Lima, Ohio. What do you think about Melody Grace's desire to find and befriend Brother Grimm? I think it's fucking stupid. Have you seen Brother Grimm? Have you seen what that fucking guy A looks like, B does, C looks like, D does? What the fuck? Melody Grace looks like a moron there. She will live to regret, I promise. LC Powers in Rawlins, Wyoming. I am so excited for the Bombshell Tag Team Championship match at Violent Conduct 3. But as that being said, I also love SCW's current tag team champs, Ben Jordan and Jamie Dean. Do you think that their last loss is a foreshadowing of events to come? And if so, what happens if they do lose? I don't necessarily think it is a foreshadowing, right? Keep in mind they lost to James Siskini, who is one of the longest reigning roulette champions ever, all right, and a fantastic roulette champion. And Dimitri, who is a former internet champion and the current number one contender to the World Heavyweight Championship. So, you know what? It's not a shock that they lost. I do think that they'll retain, their biggest threat to me is the Monstables. I've always said that they're one of the best tag teams in wrestling, so there's always that. I think the fact that it's going to be a multi-team match, it actually works in their benefit. Because they won't have to face the Monstables one-on-one. Noah in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago. I was super shocked that Johnny Tsunami won the Roulette Championship off of Taschini. I'm happy, though. I've always thought that Tsunami was a solid competitor when he chose to be. With that being said, if James loses when he gets his rematch, who would you like to see Tsunami compete against? I'm going to get to this a little bit later, so I don't want to dive too much into it. But one thing that I do like about the title changing hands here is it opens up a realm of possibilities. We've never really seen Tsunami as a singles competitor in this company. He's always kind of been in tag teams or, in that lesser active role. So it kind of opens up real fresh matchups. Ryan Keys comes to mind. Steve Ramone, Casey Williams. I mean, all sorts of guys and matchups that we've never had before in SCW. So that's exciting. Luke in Manhattan, Kansas. If you could pick one Bombshell and one Superstar to change their wrestling style, who would you pick and why? Also, I know that you and a lot of other people want an East Coast tour, but what about a motherfucking Midwest tour? I'm going to answer your questions in reverse. No one wants a Midwest tour because the Midwest is fucking boring. All right? If I wanted to look at cornfields, I'd watch Field of Motherfucking Dreams. Okay? Let's get an East Coast tour. Let's go to New Jack City. Let's fucking get it done. Strong Island. You know what I'm talking about. Hit me. Your first question, though, Bombshell and Superstar to change your wrestling style, I would say nobody. To me, your wrestling style is who you are. Maybe some of the more high-flying, like risk takers like Steve Ramone or Johnny Tsunami. If you want longevity in this business, maybe you want to not try to kill yourself on a regular basis. But other than that, those styles define them, and I wouldn't change anything about them. Harper Crew in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. Exactly my point. Why the fuck would we want to tour there? Harper, what do you have to say? My favorite Bombshell is Micah, and my favorite Superstar is Despair. You seem to like J2H, and I used to think it was Sam Marlowe, but I'm not sure anymore. Who do you think would win this match? J2H and your favorite Bombshell versus Despair and Micah. my favorite Bombshell as a competitor is Micah. To me, she's the best in the business. So we'll drop that. And J2H versus Despair, we know who would win that one. We've seen it already twice. I can only imagine how hard it is for Bombshell or a Superstar to pick out their entrance music. If you were wrestling, what would your wrestling entrance music be? I do have theme music. I used to do some commentary, and it was Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster by the Ghetto Boys. Look it up. It's a good one. Carmen in New Mexico. I know there have been people that have asked you to pick a Bombshell superstar that could be the next movie star, but let's mix it up. Which actor/actress do you think would be a great wrestler? Certainly not Stephen Amell. I don't know. Chris Hemsworth maybe. He's a big dude. I don't know. I don't know. Quite honestly, they belong on the screen, if you ask me. Ashley in Greer, South Carolina. If SCW had some sort of thing equivalent to a fantasy football league, who would be your top superstar to have and favorite Bombshell to have? J2H and Micah. Blaine in Piedmont, South Dakota. I know you're all about wrestling, but you have to be a football fan too. So who's your favorite fantasy football draft pick? I'm in 3 fantasy football leagues. I've been blessed with the number 2 overall pick, the number 2 overall pick, and the number 3 overall pick. And all 3 times I picked Todd Gurley for the trifecta. I think that guy's going to have a monster year. The quarterback situation in LA is fucking terrible. The wide receiver situation in Los Angeles is fucking terrible. Some people are high on Taven Austin. I am not. So to me, they're going to run the fucking ball. And when they throw the ball, they're going to throw it to Todd Gurley. That dude's going to have a monster season. Paulie in Washington, D.C. Do you think Despair is going to beat Rage at Violent Conduct 3? I will reserve the answer to that question when I make my prediction shows. Don't fucking get impatient, Paulie. Micah in NYC. Before I ask a question, Micah in NYC. Oh my God, the dirty girl. How you doing? Before I ask a question, I want to squash half of that rumor that you reported last week. I am not pregnant, and I don't know why Drake was going into a baby boutique. Now onto my question. How long do you think that SCW can deal with Veronica Taylor? Or how many more times can I kick her ass and it not going to get boring? Because I'm kind of curious. Micah, it will never get boring of watching you beat Veronica Taylor. Ever. Ever. From Meg in Chicago. This past Sunday, we all witnessed yet another brawl between Alexis Edwards and Evie Bang. Since returning just a few weeks ago, Alexis has definitely shown her attitude has changed, as she doesn't seem to have a constant case of PMS all the time. But this feud with Evie Bang seems to be threatening that, as people have been putting her on the list of one of the quote-unquote bad guys recently. My question is, do you think Alexis will be able to keep her anger under control and not revert back to where she was just a few months ago? I can't answer that question. Only Alexis can. Quite honestly, she hasn't really seemed that much different. She's still kind of bitchy. The biggest difference is obviously she's not fucking drunk all the time. And I tell you what, maybe she should have a fucking drink and chill out a little bit. The main event seems to... Andy in Atlanta. Every week, Andy in Atlanta sends in a fucking question. Alright, so going back to the very beginning of the show with What's Eating Tom, take a page out of fucking Andy in Atlanta's playbook. Okay? If you want to know something, you want to make a change to the Hotwire, don't be fucking lazy and put a goddamn question in. Every week. Thank you, Andy, for your loyalty and support. The main event seems to be one made in hell. I can already see this turning into a free-for-all and perhaps something the referee won't be able to control. I'm not sure if I should be entertained or concerned for this match. You should be concerned for the well-being of both men. They are going to fucking kill each other. But it'll be a lot of fun to watch. From Ivan in Nashua, New Hampshire. Would former teams in SCW would you like to see return to SCW? Former teams, I'd really like to see another run, just one last time, of Sinful Obsession. Big Tiger and Dark Tiger, Guns for Hire, and also Dying Breed would be pretty cool to see back. KCC in Nashua, New Hampshire, another guy who sends questions in all the time. Thank you, Casey. What do you think of Casey Williams' recent run of constantly losing, yet still being booked in title matches or number one contenders matches? You know, Casey's at this point in his career is one of those guys that kind of transcends losing because he's such an icon in our business. So I don't think much of it, to be completely honest with you. He's always going to draw. All right. Last week's show was kind of uneventful. The big thing really was the title change to the end of the show. I really felt that Johnny was kind of thrown in that match just to kind of keep James Siskini loose. And I think he shocked the world when he won. I don't think anybody would have picked Johnny Tsunami to beat James Siskini. I would imagine that we're going to have a rematch at Violent Conduct, and maybe the course will correct itself. But I was totally shocked. For the rest of the show, it was kind of uneventful. We did a lot of setups for the Supercard. Obviously, Dimitri won his match, and he will be the number one contender to J2H's World Heavyweight Championship. And the biggest news out of all this contendership we've been doing and setting things up is Despair will challenge Rage. So stablemates will face off at Violent Conduct for the Internet Championship. And to me, that match will steal the show. Coming into tomorrow's show, some solid action. Starting off the show will be Josh Woodrum versus Casey Williams. We talked about Casey before losing. I don't see Casey losing this match. I think Casey will win this match. And I think he will do it pretty impressively, if you ask me. Sam Marlowe will face off against Mercedes Vargas, two former World Bombshell champions. A little bit of history there as the two have faced off before with the title on the line. Obviously, no title in this match, but should be a really good piece of wrestling. And I will pick Sam Marlowe to beat Mercedes. Mercedes, even though she's had a world title run this year, you've heard me say before that I thought it was a little bit of a fluke. I think that her career is on a downstroke, where Sam is really on the up. She's already a two-time World Bombshell champion. I have no doubt that she will be a three-time or possibly a four-time World Bombshell champion. James Siskini will face off against Travis Nathaniel Andrews. TNA is one of those enigmas, right? He seems like he's a total package, right? He's a very good technical wrestler. He's got a great look. He's fantastic on the microphone. But when he gets in the ring, he just can't fucking win. And I think that trend will continue. I think James will put him away and firmly set his sights on facing Tsunami again at Violent Conduct to try to get his Roulette Championship back. Non-title match, to me, the match of the night, Melody Grace versus Micah. Going to be an interesting one. To me, Melody Grace is a star, and we're going to talk about her and her internet title in a little bit. And Micah, to me, is the best in the business. So this is going to be fun. Again, I think this should be a little bit further up on the card, but what do you know? Should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Tag team match, the Angel Clan, obviously Yuri Abaddon and Lucy Serafina will take on the former tag team champions, the Metal and Punk Connection. This one could go either way. And I think that if MPC is able to put them away, this close to the Supercard, one has to think that the bosses might course correct and shove Amy Marshall and Jesse Salco into that championship match next week, or in 2 weeks, excuse me. So lots of things going on in the Bombshell Tag Team division. If NPC were to win, I would expect, and I would probably demand that they got that title shot as well. But hold your horses. I do think that the Angel Clan will win. I think they're a solid team right now. They're teaming more often than NPC is. Amy Marshall and Jesse Salco have been doing singles things, so they haven't worked together as much, where the Angel Clan have, and that's why I think they will win. Bombshell Roulette Championship. Veronica Taylor will defend against Twisted Sister. Interesting matchup. I think Veronica will retain. I think she's not ready to give up that title. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if Twisted Sister won. But I can't remember the last time I saw her win a match. So I think Veronica will get a championship under her belt. Championship defense under her belt here. And look forward to her match against Roxy Johnson at the Supercard. And the main event is a fatal four-way match. Jamie Dean versus John Doe versus Samuel McPherson versus Radical of the Surf Boys. Fun match. I think that Samuel McPherson will probably get this one. To me, he might be the strongest singles competitor in there. Certainly will be a fun, chaotic match. Personally, if I was booking this card, this match would not be the main event. It would probably be your third from last. I probably would have had Micah and Melody go on after it, and I would have had the roulette title match close the show. But fuck, what do I know? I'm not a booker. I'm just that dude that likes to talk behind a fucking microphone. But you know what? All in all, should be a fun show. Should be a good lead up to Violent Conduct, and I'm looking forward to seeing the action tomorrow. There was no Twitter question of the week, and I'm going to tell you guys why right now. So, going forward, I'm going to look for submissions for Twitter questions of the week. All right? Please send them in. What would you like to know? What poll would you like me to ask? And you'll see it on there. Okay? I felt like we were getting a little repetitive, so until I get a little more participation on that end from you guys, there will be no poll. All right? Just a couple of rumors this week. Dying Breed is, in fact, considering a return to SCW. The former tag team was a little bit impressive while they were here. They never really got the feet underneath them, and I'd like to see them make another run. Casey Williams is still contemplating retiring at the end of the year when his contract is up, and it would be sad to see Casey go, but sometimes time is time. Just a quick note, I've heard that since Despair has actually won the Battle Royal last week, and he was named the number one contender to Rage's Internet Championship, that he has actually been trying to find any way that he can to get out of the match because he doesn't want to face Despair. He has been saying that it's because they're such good friends and almost family that he doesn't feel right, but I've heard from one or two people that he's actually afraid of Despair and he doesn't think he can beat him, and he doesn't want to lose his title. I would not be surprised. That sounds like something Rage would do. Well, thank you for listening to the Hotwire this week. Stock Up and Stock Down is back this week. Right? So whose stock is up? I mean, number one, you can't deny it, Johnny Tsunami's stock is up. The guy who really came out of nowhere and has become the roulette champion. Totally shocked the SCW universe. His stock has to shoot up from that. The real trick will be whether or not he can beat Tuskini again at the Supercard. If he becomes a one and done, then maybe he'll drop right back down to obscurity. But for now, this is his week. He's riding high. Kira Fisher-Johnson, stock is also up. She has looked very good in recent weeks. I think she is actually going to be a legitimate challenge to the World Bombshell Championship, and I'm looking forward to that match. Also stock up is Dimitri. He won the little mini tournament. He is your world heavyweight champion, number one contender, and he is possibly the strongest contender that J2H has had. Who knows? We will see. But I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Now on to the most upsetting segment of the show, Stock Down. Very first is Crystal Miller. Crystal, you've got that belt, and it's starting to fade to obscurity. Where have you been? You haven't been pumping your belt as much as you should. Right? You went through a lot. No one's going to take that away from you. It was a hard-fought battle for you to get it and for you to keep it in that chamber match. You look great, but we haven't really seen you since. Don't disappoint me, Crystal. Stock Down, the Bombshell Internet title. I mean, talk about fading into obscurity, right? What happened to that belt? I mean, Melody Grace is on the show, but no one seems to want it. And I feel bad for her because she's, again, one of the best in the business, and she's not able to really show her stuff. So that's a little disappointing to me. Certainly she has been voicing her frustrations about it, and who can blame her? But the stock is down for that title, not for Melody, just for the title. And the final stock down of the evening is the fans. The fans of violent conduct, right? We had, 5 or 6 matches announced last week, including a really big grudge match between Alexis Edwards and Evie Bang, and not one has a violent stipulation. When I hear violent conduct as a pay-per-view title, I want to see blood, I want to see chair shots, barbed wire matches, Taipei death matches, anything. I want to see violent conduct, not standard wrestling matches for fucking 4 hours. Okay? So either rename the show or go back and re-add stipulations to the matches that deserve the stipulations. Most importantly, grudge matches. Again, booking meh. That's what I want to say. And you can hashtag that. For all of you that didn't enjoy the show, like the person that bitches about multiple questions, go fuck yourself.